Hurmatli ommaviy axborot vositalari vakillari, barchangizni ko'rganimizdan bag'oyat xursandmiz. Xalqaro atomной energiyasi agentligi bosh direktori Rafael Mariano Grossi janoblari ishtirokidagi matbuot anjumaniga xush kelibsizlar. Demak, so'z Rafael Mariano Grossi janoblariga. Marhamat.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thanks for coming. My idea now is to, frankly, take questions that you may have. There was a good opportunity for speeches earlier in the morning, but let me say that I am really happy to be here. This is a very important moment for Uzbekistan. For nuclear energy in general, I was trying to explain a moment ago that there is a global trend, very strong trend, towards nuclear energy in many countries, in many regions, different circumstances, different challenges, different opportunities. But of course, I wanted to be here with the president and talk to him, and we had a great meeting yesterday, and of course, with the team from Usatom. So, but basically, maybe there are other points, other issues that you would like to know a little bit more about. So I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have. So.
Marhamat, savolingiz bo'lsa murojaat qilishingiz mumkin. If you have any question, please feel free.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Russian news agency mostly, Mr. Grossi, when you are going to visit Russia again?
Well, I expect this to happen soon. We have, as you know, been working in particular on the situation around the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. And in that context, I have been having number of meetings with the Russian government, with the state company Rosatom, with the Ministry of Defense representatives, with Rostechnadzor, the Russian regulator, and we have regular meetings to assess the situation from the Russian perspective. And as you know, I see everybody and I talk with everybody, so I do it with Ukraine, I do it with Russia in parallel. So we are now planning to have the next session early next year, so in a few weeks from now.
Maybe second question.
Please, no problem.
How the agency currently assesses the situation of Zaporozhye and Kursk entities?
Well, in terms of Zaporozhye, I can say that the situation continues to be tense since the conflict continues, and this, as you know, this region is still a theater of military operations. So for as long, I always say, for as long as military operations are taking place in the vicinity of a nuclear power plant, we can never say that the situation is stable or is better than a few months ago. So this is something that I would like to repeat. Recurrence, the repetition of situations where the external supply to the plant, the high tension lines are falling quite regularly, and they leave the plant either with one line or with emergency generators, continues to be of great concern to me. So this is something that I will also be discussing with my Russian counterparts and with the Ukrainian side very soon, I hope. Thank you very much.
Уважаемые представители средств массовой информации, хотим обратить ваше внимание, что ведется синхронный перевод, и для того, чтобы переводчики могли услышать вопрос, просьба задавать вопросы в микрофон. Bemalol o'zbek va rus tillarida ham savollaringiz bilan murojaat qilishingiz mumkin. Sinxron tarjima imkoniyati mavjud.
Hello, Mr. Grossi.
Hello.
Yesterday you visited our university. I am Nasiba Nurjanov, Press Secretary of National Research Nuclear University. And I want, could you share with your impressions about our university?
Well, I had the opportunity, of course, to visit and to look at the way in which the workforce and technologists and professionals are being prepared for this very important new phase in the life of the energy sector in Uzbekistan. And I can say that I was very impressed by the level of the professionals there. I could see the laboratories, I could see some of the equipment they have for the training, and I could share a few moments, even informally. I shared lunch with a good group of students, and I was asking them about their views for the future, how they see themselves working in the nuclear sector in future, what are their intentions, how they see the world that your generation is going to be managing. It's not my generation, it's the new generations that in 15, 20 years, when Uzbekistan has a good number of nuclear power plants and maybe neighboring countries as well. So the change is, I don't think it's appropriate to say revolutionary, but it is very big. It is a very big change that we are seeing in the energy scene in Central Asia and in other parts of the world. So we need to be prepared. And I think, of course, I said yesterday when I was invited to write on the guest book that the foundation of anything starts with good education. So I can see that, and I was very satisfied with what I saw. Yes.
Добрый день, уважаемый мистер Гросси. У меня такой вопрос. Сегодня было подписание нескольких документов важных. Что это дает Узбекистану и в целом Центральной Азии? Спасибо.
Well, documents are important when they have concrete content. Otherwise, they are just piece of paper. And these documents are not just pieces of paper. They indicate very clearly what are the areas where the agency is going to be supporting Uzbekistan. We have now, since a decision has been made here in the country to introduce small modular reactors through a contract with Rosatom. So we know exactly what type of technology is going to be introduced here. So that allows us to adapt the kind of support we are going to be giving to this situation. This is one area. There is another area that has to do with the regulation. You know, the nuclear regulator is the institution in a country that makes sure that the operations are carried out respecting the internationally agreed safety standards. So we are also going to be working with the Uzbek nuclear regulator. And importantly as well, the president has decided after the conversations we had that Uzbekistan is going to be moving very fast into signing a number of conventions that it had not signed before. For example, the Convention on Nuclear Safety, which is very important and sets obligations for countries. The Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material, what we do to protect this nuclear material. And a number of legal instruments that every country that has nuclear energy signs with the IAEA. And this was pending in a way. So we had a good conversation with the president. He very decisively said, well, let's move forward. Let's get this done. So now also our lawyers, Uzbek lawyers and IAEA lawyers are going to be working together so that we can accelerate that. So as you can see, from the very technical to the more legal aspects, we are now working, following a roadmap that we have of activities so that the operation of the reactors is not delayed. Otherwise, you can construct very quickly, but if you don't have anything, in order, it's not possible. So we are trying to go in parallel, the development of the program and the support from the IAEA. This is the idea. Yes.
Oksana Boyko of RT International. Mr. Grossi, I think you had a very remarkable mandate as the IAEA Director General, because you deal with a lot of construction and a lot of destruction at the same time. You spoke at the panel about the growth of interest in nuclear technology, nuclear energy. Do you think it's safe to proceed with those plans as the world is still at loggerheads when it comes to basic security? And somewhat related to that, a colleague already asked about the physical safety of the Zaporozhye and Kursk nuclear stations. Do you think those kind of challenges, can they be addressed at the constructive level, at the level of constructing the buildings, or would they require some sort of new agreements, arrangements, legislative frameworks that, the country is agreeing not to make those facilities a target?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for your participation earlier today. I enjoyed working under your moderation. It is clear that we are going through rough waters internationally. We should not deny it or try to hide it. But that, and I have said it in many places and in different countries, that does not mean that an industrial activity like nuclear energy should be stopped, delayed, or discarded because this is happening. This is not the case for other activities, and it shouldn't be the case for nuclear. The issue with nuclear has been, of course, that we have an issue which we are addressing. It's not like the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about. We are talking about it all the time. And we are not only talking about it all the time, we are acting on it. This is why the IAEA has been welcomed in Zaporozhye, as the Ukrainians call it. So I'm working with both. And I established quite uniquely and in cooperation with every actor in this, a permanent presence there, which is informing what is happening. It is interacting with the management. As your colleague was asking just now, I am having constant interaction, as it should be, with Russia, with Ukraine. Of course, there are many political issues around this, but our mission is to ensure that there is no accident, that we can go through this anomaly, because a military conflict is an anomaly, is something that we should all work together in order to make it end in the best possible way for all. So this is our conviction, and to believe that nuclear deployment should be delayed or stopped because there are wars in the world, frankly speaking, it doesn't seem to be a logical proposition. Then we should stop building high rises because they could be hit by a missile if there is a war. We shouldn't be flying on airplanes because there could be a surface-to-air missile that could accidentally hit them. So obviously we have to work for peace, always. But if anything, nuclear energy is a positive factor. It's a positive factor because of the characteristics of the energy, which is a clean energy and so on and so forth, but also it is an activity where international cooperation can transcend these political differences. And even though we are at a difficult moment now, this moment will pass. We will move on to a more constructive phase. And you could see even today here in Samarkand, in Uzbekistan, countries that do not see eye to eye, perhaps today on a number of things, but around nuclear, they were here together. And exposing their ideas, how they can contribute. So I am optimistic about nuclear in the future, and with regards to conflicts and the possible nuclear dimension of a conflict, this is why we have places like the IAEA, for example. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Grossi.
Hello.
Жалғас Зейнолла атамекен бизнес. How do you assess Kazakhstan's potential in the energy sector? What is missing?
Well, it's an excellent question. Kazakhstan falls within this category of countries which I consider nuclear countries without nuclear energy. Because Kazakhstan has a tradition a little bit like Uzbekistan used to have with research reactors, with a very vast, it's one of the main uranium mining and producing countries in the world. It has a strong technological base with Kazatomprom, with which I work very closely. I visited, you are from Kazakhstan yourself. I visited your country a year ago, and I saw the president. At that time, the president mentioned to me the idea of having a national referendum. So this is the way your country decided to move forward with it. You just had it with an impressive majority of people voting for the introduction of nuclear energy generation. And of course, we will be working, like we are doing here, to support the country in the introduction of nuclear energy. I think it makes a lot of sense for the type of economy that the country has, for the type of energy mix that it has, to introduce an element of nuclear energy. Of course, there is an area which is the commercial aspects, which is not for us. Countries decide with whom they do business and how they do it, and we will be there to support them in the regulatory, in the safety areas, and technologically wise if it's asked. So I'm very optimistic as well about the prospects in Kazakhstan. Thank you.
Assalomu alaykum.
Salam alaikum.
My name is Islombek. Daryo sayti muxbirman. O'zbek tilida bersam. Savolim o'zbek tilida bersam. Hozir muloqot 2 soatlik muloqotda atom elektr stansiyasini plyuslari, yaxshi tomonlari haqida gapirildi. Umuman stansiyani xavflari va minus tomonlari ham bormi? O'zbekistonda atom elektr stansiyasini boshqarish imkoniyatini qay darajada baholaydi MAGATE?
Well, this is what I was discussing yesterday for the entire day with my colleagues from Uzatom, the Minister of Energy, and the President. So it is clear that Uzbekistan, as I said, has a solid technological base. Uzbekistan has a very serious national agency, which is Uzatom, that is working in a very systematic way to move forward with the project. Uzbekistan has a national regulator, which is sometimes missing in newcomer countries. They move fast in the commercial side. They want to sign contracts, and then they do not have the internal control mechanisms and authorities to do that. So in this case, I think you have this double advantage of having already a pretty, I would say, solid institutional building block to move forward. Does that mean that everything is ready? No, clearly no. We have to work, and this is why I offered to the president, and the president agreed to have a roadmap of a number of activities where we are going to be advising the country on how best to introduce nuclear energy, the percentages. Now we know that there is a concrete project, there is the SMR project with Rosatom, which is going to be there, and is going to be adding a relatively small portion of nuclear energy to the grid. But the idea of the president, as I understand it, and as he told me, is to move to perhaps more, as other countries have done, even gas-producing countries like Uzbekistan have done. So we are going to be assisting them in this regard. We are going to be accompanying the growth and the establishment of the workforce through a number of concrete courses, training programs, exchanges that we are going to have and facilitate, so Uzbek experts can get experience and so on. So all of these are areas of work that we are going to be developing as of now.
Lilo Horvat from the Hungarian Business Daily. Does it work? His name is Világgazdaság. Hungary builds 2 new reactors with Russian Rosatom. Hungary is often criticized because of this cooperation. Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Grossi? Is this cooperation risky from the point of view of nuclear safety or not?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. Hungary, let's put things in perspective. Hungary has been operating nuclear power plants for a long time, for many, many decades, without any problem, any safety issue. We interact with them very frequently. Hungary has already in Paks nuclear power plants which are operating, and they want to add capacity there. So I think, of course, Hungary can decide to cooperate and to work with the country or the company of their choice. There is no doubt about it. But I think it makes eminent sense that when they want to expand the current capacity, they continue with the technology provider that they have. But again, the IAEA does not have a voice on who is better or who is worse. What I say is that this is logical, that the work is being carried out in accordance with the safety standards. I have a very close contact with Foreign Minister Peter Siarto, who is in charge of the management of the program. So I have full confidence. And if there is a problem, of course, we can always work and talk. I have been to Budapest. I will return soon. Thank you. Sir. Microphone for the gentleman. Thank you.
So you're welcome. One, two. Yes, it's working.
Yeah.
You are welcome to Uzbekistan. First of all, we are very glad to see you here in Samarkand. So my question is, it's planned to build a small modular MPP in Uzbekistan by 2033. And when this was announced on the media, many people opposed this idea, especially eco-activists, regarding its environmental threats and also the safety, regarding the safety for the well-being of the people in the country. So what I'm going to ask is, what kind of specific actions can Uzbekistan take to construct this power plant, let's say nuclear power plant in the country, in a way that it's safe for the well-being of the people and also for environment?
Well, I think that the best guarantee that the Uzbek population and the media and environmentalists can have is that they work hand in hand with the IAEA. The IAEA is an organization that has been set up precisely, among other things, precisely to make sure that a country that goes in this direction has an agreement with it to look into the proliferation side, so we check that the material is always in good use, that there is no deviation. We perform a number of safety missions, advisory, peer review services. You know, when you start a nuclear program, it's like, you know, a very long relationship. Nuclear power plants these days operate for 100 years, and I'm not exaggerating. So it's an intergenerational thing. So you get into a relation which is very intricate, which is very close. So the agency is providing constantly advice, and the Uzbek nuclear sector is constantly working with the agency. So one cannot say that this is a kind of a project which is going to be happening in a way that it's not under a monitoring, under impartial, objective monitoring all the time. You know, nuclear industry is by far the most regulated and controlled industry that exists, with national controls, but also international controls, which you don't have in other sectors. So I believe that by entering into all these agreements that you have seen today, exchanges of documents here and there, my meeting with the president, what you can see is that they have decided to walk this walk hand in hand with the IAEA. And in the IAEA, there is 180 voices. So everything is exposed, everything is done in full transparency. So I believe this is a good indication. Of course, doubts are legitimate and questions can be asked. We never silence those. I personally welcome that, any conversation about any doubts that may emerge. But I think that everything is in place for the project to move forward in a correct way. Very good.
Who else? If there are no questions, we would like to extend our thanks to the representatives of the mass media for their constructive questions and Mr. Grossi for detailed answers and his active participation in the press conference.
I thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, and hope to see you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.